Welcome back to another edition of the Course Creation Incubator Podcast. I'm your host, Gina Onativia, here to get you stoked about your course creation, your marketing, and help you build up the course-based business of your dreams. And we are talking launching. If you have not checked out part 1 of our launch series, please go back and listen to that first episode of our series where I go through steps 1 and steps 2. Quick refresher, step 1, what is your offer? What's your invite that you're going to make? What's the structure of what you're putting out there? Do you have bonuses, etc.? Step 2, deciding what success looks like. Oh, so important. I really want you guys to listen to part 1 if you haven't done that already. Please go back and listen as part of our launch series, our launch workshop. Also, last week I talked about I'm offering limited time intensives. If you're feeling stuck, if you need a breakthrough, if you've lost momentum, I'm here to help. Check those out in the show notes. You can apply. There's a short little application, and let me know if you want to work together. All right. Today, we're diving into part 2 of our series, and which means step 3. Okay. So hopefully you've done the work for steps 1 and 2. Feel free to DM me your work, by the way, and let me know if you have any questions along the way in terms of this launch workshop. Now, with step 3, I want you to think about the audience that you are going to start with. So let me explain this for a minute. So you have an audience that you're starting out with, right? A great niche audience, I'm hoping. So it could be newborn moms, achievers who want to lose that last 20 pounds, entrepreneurs looking to DIY their websites. Every single one of you, if you're listening right now, has a great audience, or else you probably wouldn't be listening. So I want you to think about that audience, that initial audience that you're going after. And I say initial audience and I say to start with because you can expand from there. I get a lot of objections sometimes from people, well, Gina, I want to serve multiple audiences. I don't want to just be niching down to one small segment. Well, when you're first getting started, think about niching down to that smaller segment, and then you can expand from there. You can start with lawyers, and then you go to all kinds of high achiever professionals, okay? So just thinking in terms of that segment. I've talked about Shannon Brady before, so here's a great example. So Shannon Brady is a done-for-you client, and she's actually been on the podcast. I'll link to that show in the show notes as well. She has a college admissions course, and she knew when we were starting out, when we were working on Done For You together, that she was going to start with the parents of her current clients. Because if you think about it, her parents have other kids, right? So she was going to go after those siblings first and foremost, like if they had a younger brother or younger sister. So she was going to go after parents first, then grow into local high schools. And now, since this was a couple of years ago, Shannon has since expanded her audience and really brought in different partnerships. She's starting to go into different organizations, but she started with the parents. And that was really like the focus of her first launch, which was a really great segment for her, a really great target for her. So be inspired by Shannon and think about what's that niche audience or that segment that you can start with when you are doing your first launch. If you're a consultant or a coach, you can go out to your network first, or maybe start with a partnership. You're going to start with an expert who has the audience that you're looking for. Go back and listen to that cross-promotional podcast that I did a few weeks ago and think about how you can approach that audience. So again, for step 3, I want you to think about that segment. Now, by the way, sometimes we think bigger is better. But if you're launching for the first time, smaller tends to be better, tends to be great. For example, if you start like Shannon did with people you already know and who already know you, it's easier to convert them into buyers than, say, approaching a cold audience. And if you start off with a small group, you can really test out your offer to see what works. And you can get great testimonials. It's easier to develop an exceptional experience when you have a smaller group, which can then help you go big in the future. Now, I'm assuming that as part of step 2, how you define success, it wasn't about going bigger. Most of you listening are going to go smaller, are going to start off with that contained audience. But some of you listening might say, well, Gina, I've already launched before, or I've launched multiple times. And as I defined in step 2 is I want to go bigger and better. Okay. Then you're ready to expand your audience. You don't necessarily have to start with that smaller segment. All right. So now you're ready for step 4, which is all about scope. And we're continuing that conversation we started in step 3 about how big or small do you want to go? So I've got people saying to me, Gina, I'm just going to do a tidy little email campaign. I've been really nurturing my people up. I've got a $47 course and I'm ready to do some email marketing and hit them up that way. All right. So that's a smaller scope, right? You're just doing email marketing. Now, I've got other people who said, I've been really working hard on building up my Instagram audience, for example. I'm just going to hit them up on social. That's a great way to beta a course or a workshop or a lower price point because you've been nurturing them. You've been putting in the work and now they're ready to convert. They're ready to buy. Or some people will do more of grassroots, going to your local network. I'm not even going to tell my list yet because I've pre-selected 10 men or women that are going to go through my program first. I've got a client doing this right now where she's going live over 7 weeks and she's presenting to a small group of CEOs that she's handpicked because she wants to try on the course. She wants to work through the content. She wants to dip her toes in the waters, right? And see what resonates and what doesn't. It's about the content. It's about the delivery. She's getting so much great feedback right now. And she hasn't even gone out to the bigger public yet. That's appropriate for her. That's part of the scope that she decided to go out with before launching her program. So, and then the next step, by the way, is she'll invite more people. Maybe she expands from her local network. Maybe she doesn't go to the public quite yet. So don't think that you have to go out guns a-blazing, right, to everyone to start. Going back to step 3, starting with that segmented audience. Think about starting with a smaller scope and then building from there. There's always going to be multiple launches and next launches. All right, some questions. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a bigger launch, a smaller launch? Do you want to just focus on one segment, like the person who did email marketing or Instagram, or you do a LinkedIn campaign? Remember, bigger isn't always better. It's more important to match the scope of your launch to your goals. So if you're looking for that small group of 10 people, perhaps personal outreach is enough to reach your goal. If you have a lower price point and an engaged email list, emails could be enough for you. If you have a higher price point and want to reach more people, maybe you want to look at hosting a workshop or having affiliates support you. There are a ton of options, and it goes back to defining success, like we did in step 2. What are your goals and how big do you want to go? All right, step 5 is a big one. Get ready. This is talking about what are your strengths and the channels that play into your strengths. Now, oftentimes I want you to create a multi-channel marketing campaign in terms of what you're creating and what you're putting out there. Now you might be thinking, Gina, in step 4, you said I could do maybe just a little bit of email marketing or I could just do social media. Now, that might be appropriate for some of you with a smaller scope. For those of you who want to go out a little bit bigger, I want you to do a multi-channel marketing effort. So a little bit of social, a little bit of email, a little bit of partnerships, maybe even a little bit of media, mix it up. I want you to think through what are your strengths, and then I want you to play to your strengths in terms of how you want to market. So let me give you an example. Video. Some of you are really great at video. Some of you are cringing when I mention video right now. Coach Bobby, I've had on the podcast before, is wonderful on video. Now, Coach Bobby teaches us how to lose that weight, maybe that nagging 20 pounds. He teaches us how to get fit in his own unique way. And he is great on video. Sloan is one of my clients, and she is wonderful on video where she talks about peak performance the feminine way. And sometimes the content that you convey is better taught on video. For some of you, you are selling the model of yourself and who they can become. So they want to see you on video. They want to see what the inspirational, aspirational aspect is of who they can become. So if you're a storyteller, if you're natural on video, That's a strength of yours. So maybe you're going to do a video series, or you're going to go drive traffic that way, or you're going to do more videos on Instagram or TikTok, or maybe LinkedIn. So think through, what are your strengths? Maybe writing. You're an incredible writer in terms of your emails and your messaging. You get awesome open and click-through rates. Your newsletters are always a slam dunk because of the unique way that you tell your stories, and the unique way that you position your content. That's a strength of yours. Brainstorm what your strengths are. If you don't know, if you're listening right now and you're like, Gina, I'm not quite sure, pull in a friend or a family member or a colleague to help you if you're getting stuck on this, because this is going to build up to what your campaign becomes. Make a list of the strengths that you bring to the table, and then think about what the delivery is. So if I know I write great content and great email messages, then I know I'm going to make email marketing one of my strengths. Partnerships, by the way, could be a strength. I've got clients and students who are building up relationships left and right. I'm like, that's your strength. How can you get more affiliates for your course or for your workshop or your program? All right, we've wrapped up part 2. We've gone through step 3, 4, and 5. So in step 3, we're talking about that segmented audience. Step 4, what's the scope of your launch? And then step 5, what strengths do you bring to the table that can reveal themselves as part of your multi-channel marketing efforts? All right, make sure you're subscribed, because we've got one last part to our launch series. That's part 3 next week. I don't want you to miss one episode. Make sure you're workshopping these steps, and DM me on Instagram or on LinkedIn if you have questions or if you're feeling stuck. Check out those intensives. I'll link to them in the show notes. Until next week, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.